And we are back underway. Thanks, Nolan, for that info. From right to left on our screen here in the women's club varsity 4 final, we have in lane 1 West Point, lane 2 Penn State, lane 3 is Texas, in lane 4 is Pitt, 5 William and Mary, and in lane 6 is Georgia Tech. In these women's club varsity 4 final.
Yeah, we are off to a clean start here. It looks like all boats still connected. Maybe lane 1, West Point, falling off the pack just a little bit here, not by much quite yet, but I do want to point out again to keep an eye on William and Mary in lane 5. They are the recent second place finishers in this event. Have done pretty well here in these club events over the course of the spring. So do just kind of keep an eye on the blue boat of William and Mary. But right now they are just short of Georgia Tech on the outside lane with our clear leaders. If I'm looking at this correctly as we speak, Texas followed by Penn State and then go all the way to the outside, Georgia Tech. And let's see, followed then by William and Mary. Again, the recent Sierra second place finishers. So there is some power and some experience in this 4 here. So we don't discount them yet. Followed very, very closely again by Pittsburgh here just on the inside, flanked between Texas and William and Mary, and then West Point in lane 1. So we will keep an eye on how this develops. Again, still very early on in this race, but right now your current leader is Texas in lane 3.
Yeah, Texas with the fastest time in the time trial yesterday, 8 minutes and 51 seconds. And then after that, a lot of closer finishes between Pittsburgh, Penn State, and William and Mary. And you can see those 3 crews currently vying it out for that second place as Texas continues to push their advantage over Penn State. Penn State at the moment in second place. You can see there on the left side, we've got Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech also making a strong push out there along with William and Mary and Pittsburgh. All 3 of those crews now trying to track down Penn State. We'll see if they can get to Penn State and if the 4 of them have any chance of tracking down this Longhorn boat out of Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like we have our clear leader, Texas. Again, if they can maintain this this row that they are having now, a little bit loose, kind of understroking some of the other crews. Again, let me see if I can at least confirm that for you instead of just going on looks here. But it looks like the race is really happening behind Texas here. It's really happening behind the Longhorns. So again, as soon as we can get another view, looks like Texas here, just to interrupt myself, at about a 33-34. Very solid for the meat of the race here again, but it is the race happening behind them that we want to keep our eye on.
Yeah, it looks like Pittsburgh there out of lane 3, despite being in 5th place through that first 750, has now moved into second place, beginning to overtake Penn State. Texas still well out in front, but you see there now lane 3, Pittsburgh has moved in to second place. We'll see if Penn State is able to hang on to that bronze medal position or if they will continue to give up their lead to William and Mary and Georgia Tech on the outside there in lanes 5 and 6, pushing through this 1,000 meter mark. 1,000 meters left to go now. Penn State still within striking distance of Pittsburgh. If they can kind of regroup here, they can go back for that silver medal. But Pitt, obviously the second fastest time yesterday in qualifying, looking to try and see if they can't close some ground between themselves and the boat from Texas.
Yeah, it's really interesting, too, to notice the spread here in an event like this. Again, very typical for today, as we've seen before. We'll probably see it again. Again, don't want to make too many early predictions here, but that lane 3 is a very highly seeded lane. So we will see a lot of leaders looking at potentially lane 3 and lane 4. But again, lane 3 so far seems to kind of be the lucky lane today. But we are seeing quite a spread in some of these events because this is a club event. So we get athletes of all different abilities and experiences. You know, we could have some that have very little experience, some that have 4 or 5 years of experience, all coming in together. So you get a very mixed bag, which is what makes this race very exciting. So again, you could have a lot of experienced athletes versus very inexperienced athletes across the board, and these athletes typically are helping run the club themselves. So the way the club is run is a little bit different than a fully funded varsity program that may move on to, IRAs or, so a lot of these crews will end up going to ACRA as well, not the IRAs. So they will meet again, very exciting. But we are still seeing Texas here in lane 3, followed by Pittsburgh with a few boat lengths back, open water. Again, I hate to make those calls too early because our drone and our camera angles can be a little bit deceiving, but there is open water between those crews.
Yeah, definitely. And Pittsburgh seems to have closed down that lead just a little bit. Texas's lead shrinking just a little bit, but that's fine in this third 500 for Texas, knowing that they can have such a big lead to work with, and with this final 500 can really put it home. Maybe just taking their time a little bit through that third 500. Pittsburgh trying to make a move to either secure that second place or maybe see if they can't nip at the heels of the Texas boat. But as you see here, nobody really within striking distance as Texas makes their way to the finish line.
That's right. And this is where the strategy and the pride comes in here. We see the Longhorns ahead, but they could either take it through the finish line at this race and at this, at this rate and at this pace that they are at now, or they could choose to put the exclamation point on it and cross their T's and dot their I's and end up with a sprint all the way through the finish and just give themselves a kind of a pride row here at the finish, really execute the race plan that they came out to execute, even though they are not necessarily pushed as much as some of these other crews might be.
Yeah, 250 meters left to go now for our leaders. You see there into the red buoys, letting them know. And you can see just how much that lead was closed down by Pittsburgh there at the end of this race. Really impressive finish from Pittsburgh as Texas doesn't seem to be too bothered by the fact that this race is about to end.
They are really unbothered, although I bet they are happy that this race is about to end.
Yeah, of
because
course.
As we know what it feels like to race a 2K, me sitting here as a coxswain talking about this, the rowers, I'm sure, are undoubtedly excited for it to be over, but also just to execute a great row. Is that what you're seeing here, Joe?
Yeah, Pittsburgh, this is really incredible finish from them. I almost wish they had tried to go a little bit sooner, as they've really closed down a lot of space between them and Texas. Even in the last 500 meters, Texas still going to win by open water, but look at that, only about 4 to 5 seconds behind them is the boat from Pittsburgh. And we'll see how this race for bronze ended up shaking out here. And it looks like our boat out of lane 2 there, Penn State takes the bronze, followed by William and Mary, and then Georgia Tech. Depending on where West Point finished, I don't think we had that lane 1 in our view there.